Hi, I'm your host Vasco Duarte. Welcome to the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast, where we share tips and tricks from Scrum Masters around the world. Every day, we bring you inspiring answers to important questions that all Scrum Masters face day after day. On Fridays, we talk about the product owner role in Scrum. We talk about patterns and anti-patterns that relate to ours and the team's collaboration with the product owner. And we've also put together a course to help you navigate that relationship. There's 18 modules, nearly 8 hours of tools, techniques, videos, handouts, presentations you can use to help you and your team work better with your product owner. The course is available at bit.ly/coach-your-PO. All lowercase, all one word. That's bit.ly/coach-your-PO. And now, on to the show, the Product Owner Show. Hello everybody, welcome to our TGIF and Product Owner episode this week with Nancy Bears. Hi Nancy, welcome back.
Hey, glad to be here. Final day of the week.
Absolutely, super energized to talk about product owners. Now, as we were preparing, you said you don't feel good about talking bad about product owners, so let's make this clear that we talk about product owner bad examples so that we learn how to help even the worst product owners become great product owners. So we do need to explore what's going on that is preventing them and the team from succeeding. So let's start there. We'll talk about a great product owner later on so that we end up on a high. But let's talk about a bad product owner. Share with us what might have been the worst product owner anti-pattern you've witnessed in your career, Nancy.
I guess it's horrible backlogs, hands down. And I've seen that all over the industry. And by that, one of the examples that pops to mind is there was this team who did like 2 to 3 user stories a sprint. You can think about that whatever you want, but they did that. And the backlog was like 280 items. So I told the product owner, just Control, Alt, Delete, and start over. And he was like, no, because there's so much information in this backlog. And I was like, yes, but it's waste. So I think step number 1 for any Scrum Master, when you start out in a new team, is check how many user stories do we usually, because that's the only estimate I use, is how many user stories do we usually do in any particular sprint or typical sprint. Look at the backlog, and if it's more than, let's say, 3 sprints ahead, get rid of the rest. And that's actually what every product owner should do as well, because extensive backlogs like that are waste.
All right, so we need to dive into that, because the first thing that people will say, just like that product owner said to you, is like, what do you mean, Nancy? I mean, there's a lot of knowledge and information in this backlog. We can't just simply throw it away. So tell us, how do these, let's call them overly long and large backlogs, become not just waste, but perhaps, at least in my experience, even impediments for the team and the product owner?
Yeah, it's becoming a sort of a rabbit hole of to if you have like a big garden and you have to take care of all the weeds that are growing there, it takes you a lot of time. Whilst if you just focus on one side of that garden and just make sure that the flowers are growing there, and then actually someone could enjoy that garden, right? While if you have a massive garden and you don't have the time to be everywhere at the same time, it will be a big wilderness, and it will never flourish. So using metaphors like this can help, but also the fact that just let product owners time how much time they actually work on backlog items that are like from the 20th story down. How much time do you do? So just time them, just time it. So and then with hard figures, show them this is the time you spent on a part of your product that will never be built. or probably will never be built. If you could just focus on the top 10% of your user stories, your product will get better. The quality of your product will improve.
That's a very good point. So I love the garden metaphor, by the way. I think it's a very good visual, at least for me, it was immediately visual as you were explaining it, way to do it. And another way that I have used in the past is, imagine that it only takes 5 minutes per week to maintain every backlog item on average. Now, we all know that it might take an hour or two for the top backlog items, because those are the ones you're working on or you're grooming to work on next. So of course there's a lot more time spent there. But then all of the other items are, and this is the way I phrase it, they are already ongoing. And the reason why they are ongoing is that as an organization, somebody sent an email, an SMS, tapped you on the shoulder, wrote something on a post-it, left it in your desk, whatever that was, that item got into the backlog because somebody said something. It was either you, the product owner, or somebody else, right? And the moment that is articulated, the moment the organization, whether it's the CEO who shoots off an email or the head of sales or whatever, that person that sent that information to the product owner immediately recognizes that item as ongoing. In fact, you know this because they'll come to you and say, hey, I sent you this message like 3 months ago. Why isn't it done yet? And CEOs and salespeople are very good at asking this question. So as an organization, the items are already ongoing. People are worried about it. Meetings will be held about those. Email conversations will be held. Interruptions when you're going through the corridor will be done, etc., etc. There is work being done for those items. And I ask people, so if you spend only 5 minutes per week or per sprint working on those backlog items, how long do you spend just working on the backlog? And, in some organizations, it's a full-time job for one person to just keep the backlog alive, not to develop anything, not to make it clear, not to help the team understand it, just to keep it alive, right? So that's also one technique that I've used to try to, and this is my goal, of course, to try to visualize the cost of having a large backlog, right? Yeah. Did you ever try this? What kind of reaction did you get?
Well, I did the timing part. So basically, every time you work on your backlog time, how long you spent, especially some of the starting product owners, it really gave them some great insights on, oh my goodness, I'm working so hard on all this stuff that will not be built in the coming 6 months. Why am I doing this? So sometimes a little bit of awareness and just, okay, set your timer. Did you set your timer? It might sound a little bit Scrum Mom-ish, but sometimes you need to Scrum Mom a little bit to get your point across. But this particular product owner that I was talking about, he didn't even really like being a product owner. And he was like, yeah, but the team can handle the top of the backlog. I will just do the rest and the team will do the top of the backlog. So here's my goal as a product owner. This was my second thing that really irked me, is not being clear on the product vision. He just simply told the team, yes, our goal for the next epic, not even sprint, epic is seamless experience. It's seamless experience. So that's my product vision, seamless experience. So here are some user story-ish like thingies about what I want to improve in the app. And my vision is seamless experience. Team, go. That was just, so that in combination with a very long backlog, that was my product owner from hell.
Yeah, definitely.
What I did, I listened to James Copeland, who once told me, if the backlog is not in order, take your team to the beach.
So you literally took the team to the beach?
I did that once, yes.
Did that help, by the way?
Yes. Sometimes the Dutch bluntness that I talked about last Monday helps.
Absolutely. All right, that was a great story. And now we turn our attention to a much more inspiring example of a product owner, of course. So, Nancy, share with us what might have been potentially the best product owner you've ever worked with.
Her name is Irene. So you know. Thank you, Irene. She combines a couple of traits that I really, really admired in her. She had a great product vision. She was clearly very clear on where she wanted to go and what were the measurements that she wanted to measure it with. She was an amazing stakeholder manager, and especially, and that's the magic sauce in every good. That sounds a bit gross, but that's the magic sauce for any product owner, is understanding technical depth. And I think that is what any good product owner should learn and know, and also know how to sell. How do you sell technical depth to your stakeholders? Because it's the hardest thing, I think, for a product owner to get that point across to any stakeholder out there. And if you are good at that, and you have that combined with a very strong product vision and the measurements in place, so you can keep the teams also motivated to achieve their goals. That to me is, I loved working with her. That was just great.
Absolutely. So the product vision is something we've mentioned here. I'll link the compelling product vision e-course that we have for our listeners. It's free, so you can just go through that and learn what that might look like. But you mentioned stakeholder management and understanding technical debt. I do want to dive into that last one, because that's not something that pops up many times here on the product owner episode. And it's something that I'm sure many of our listeners are struggling with right now, right? They Scrum Masters hear the team complain, hey, we've got all of this technical debt that we need to cover and we're getting slower because of it, etc., etc. And then the same Scrum Master will hear the product owner and say, we can't afford that. We have all of these great things that we need to deliver. We need to deliver those now. Let's not spend time on technical debt. And so this is a conversation that is always going to go on in all teams. If it's not yet there, it will be soon. What were this product owners, magic tricks or approaches that help both stakeholders and herself and the team be excited and motivated to go through that sometimes not so sexy part of product development, which is to fix the old stuff, improve the old stuff so that it doesn't become a burden, right? The technical debt, as we were talking about.
She was very smart in asking for help to the team. Like, okay, so how much slower exactly will we get when we don't fix this? And based on that input, combined with my input as a Scrum Master, so she asked me, okay, so how can you help me visualize this for our stakeholders? So I did a lot of visualization. Like, for instance, if you think about a Tetris game that is 3/4 full, and you have all these holes in between, and you try to put on new features each and every time, but you're not solving those Tetris holes, those lines. This is what technical depths look like. And that was one of the images that I gave her. So she, the first one is she asked for help from the team and the Scrum Master to explain this to her stakeholders. Second thing that she was very good at and smart at is showing the business value in solving technical debt. Because then you can actually show that you're delivering value because you're solving old shit. So I think if you can make that mental shift on looking at from a cost perspective or looking at it from a benefit perspective, that helps a lot for the stakeholders to go with your ideas and go with your plans.
I love the Tetris game visualization. I'm going to steal that. No, I'll say that I got it from you, but I'm going to steal it anyway.
It's not from me, actually, but I can look it up for you, so I can send it to you so you can add it to the show notes.
Absolutely. Please do, so that I can add that to the show notes, because I think it will be a great way to help people visualize, because immediately came to mind how you would do that, right? Because it's so obvious once you explained it. It's like, of course it is. It's the holes that you can't feel anymore that are the technical. That great stuff. Nancy, unfortunately, we're getting close to the end. It's been a pleasure to have you here this week, but we are close to the end. Before we do go, where can we find out more about you and the work that you're doing?
I'm full-blown a serious gamer now, so you can find me at happygamechangers.com. But my old domain name, happyscrummaster.com, is also still working. So that might be easier spelling for your listeners. So happyscrummaster.com, and you can find all the things that I do with serious play and play in business.
Absolutely. We'll put the link to those on the show notes, make sure people can connect and contact you. Nancy, it's been a pleasure. So thank you very much for joining us here this week. And thank you for your generosity with your time and your knowledge.
Thank you so much. And thank you for all the effort you are putting in, because I think you're doing an amazing job.
Thank you for that. One more week of the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast is over. But there's a lot more we have to share. We have developed our own membership site where you find a community of active and engaged Scrum Masters. In this site, you get access to exclusive content and get to interact with us, your podcast hosts, as well as the best Scrum Masters in the world. Join us at scrummastertoolbox.com/podcast and keep this podcast free of advertising. See you next week for one more week full of Scrum Master tips and tricks. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.